All information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not consider your individual circumstances. You should consider the appropriateness of this information with regards to your individual objectives, financial situation, and needs. Welcome to Sharing More Than the Sheets, a podcast to help you and your partner make better financial and lifestyle decisions so that you can both focus on the things that you love. I'm your host, Michael Khouri, financial planner, green thumb, husband, and just dad. This segment is called Michael's Magic Moment. It's my opportunity to play a little snippet from one of our previous episodes, which resonated with our listeners, that I received feedback from, or I felt really had an impact on some people's lives. Hope you enjoy. This week, we go back to an episode where I talked to Andy Marshall about living your dream life. Now, Andy wrote a book, literally called Living Your Dream Life, and we talked about why some people may not be happy with their lives and what they can do to try to work out what their dream life is to get them closer to living their dream life. Andy talked about self-awareness and the whole idea of looking at your situation and even putting it down on a piece of paper and essentially looking at all of the different facets of your life, from work to family to relationships to spiritual, everything, and to essentially work out from looking at the different parts of your life, what's lacking. You know, I've seen so much research on this, but many people focus on only certain parts of their lives and they ignore others. And they might be doing really well career-wise, for example, but lacking from a physical health perspective or from a relationship perspective or from a community perspective. And when you have this balance, you're going to be a lot more likely to be living your dream life. And I know this because I see it regularly, and I talk to many people about these things. And even in this episode, and I'd encourage you to go back and listen to the whole episode, Andy mentioned some really good points. He talks about the importance of relationships. He talks about the importance of prioritizing things in life as well. He gives an example when he was rushing off to work, and his child came up to him wanting him to read a book to him. And every single day we're faced with these choices, and we're faced with the option of putting our energy towards this or towards that. And it's so important to have a balance. And I mean, me as an advisor, again, I can relate it to money in that when it comes to managing money, you can't just focus on saving money. You can't just focus on enjoying life. You need to have a balance between that as well. And same thing when it comes to our everyday life. You can't just focus on work. You need to focus on your personal life, your physical health, your mental health. And it's really important to make sure that you have a balance from that perspective as well, to make sure that, you're feeling great. And Andy even touches on some triggers to look for, or some ways to realize, hey, hold on a second, maybe my life isn't balanced. Maybe I'm not really living my dream life. I think I am, but I'm not. And these could be small signs. These could be things that we ignore all the time, which it's okay if it happens over a week or two or over a couple of months. But when it's consistent and it's long-term and you're constantly feeling a particular way, you can't just ignore it. So let's go back to the episode with Andy Marshall, Living Your Dream Life. And I hope you learn something from it and you get something out of it. There's going to be people listening to this. And even though I'm a financial advisor, which typically only helps people with money, we talk to people about these things all the time, and it's never straightforward. And is there any advice that you'd give to somebody that's listening to this, that's thinking, yes, I don't have a balance, I just know it, I don't really know where to start, I don't have many friends, I've got some, but I don't really feel like door knocking and trying to make friends with people in the street. What advice would you give, or what starting points would you personally like to share?
Look, I think it can be quite overwhelming, because if you will list out your life areas and maybe simply looking at, okay, well, how do I feel about these aspects of my life? So, and this is simply like an exercise you could do on an exercise book and say, what's the life area? So, for example, it could be intellectual growth. I want to think more about the way I'm thinking about things, maybe learn and just open my horizons. So this could be anything. This could be family, relationships, social circle, what have you, whatever the life area is. And if you can simply sort of write down, okay, well, how do I feel about this aspect of my life now? What would I want to have in the future? So therefore, then what would I need to do? What resources am I going to need? So I think that, like, if we're looking at intellectual growth as an example, so this is having the time to sort of sit there and say, you could say, okay, well, how do I feel about this? Oh, I'm really advanced, that I keep a journal and I reflect on it, so I've got good clarity. So if I could share that with someone, that might elevate to the next level. Or maybe I've never afforded myself the time to think about it, so there's too much clutter in my life to even worry about it. Or maybe I'm someone who's constantly got that negative voice in my head. So what do you want in the future? Okay, well, I've got this journal, but I want to be accountable to the process. Maybe I want to share this with someone. Maybe I need to do a course. So what do I need to do? I'm going to enlist someone to trust my thoughts with, so they're verbalized, or I might get on the same page with my partner. I want to grow intellectually. So I need now to resource it and set time aside to think about it. Maybe I can combine it into family time, social time. You always see, if we're talking about intellectual growth, you always see the ads for Open Uni on TV all the time. So maybe I'm going to make that call. Maybe I can look into what support and assistance I can get. So if you can apply that sort of methodology to any aspect of your life, and let's pick up on love and relationships as an example. If you're doing that there, how do I feel about that aspect of my life? Well, maybe I'm in a relationship, but maybe I'm feeling a little bit in a rut, or maybe I'm still searching for the one. So what do you want in the future? Okay, well, I want what everybody wants, cherish every day, to love and laugh and feel alive. Or if you're not with someone at the moment, maybe I do want to find that person who shares similar values and goals that we can seek together. So what do you do about it? Well, talk to your partner about reinvigorating every day, set priorities and non-negotiables, make a list of what we want to achieve as a couple. But if you are single, put yourself out there, talk to friends, expand your circle, take that chance. And so the resources that you need are time and courage with your partner to spell those things out and have the discussion together. So start with the really simple. And if you're single, okay, well, let's talk to my friends and family, write a bio for yourself, and not necessarily put it online, but realize that you are absolutely worth it and you've got a lot to contribute and offer and give in a relationship. So it's all about this self-awareness piece, about getting it down on paper. I always find that the best way. It's going, where and how do I feel about this life aspect now? And what do I want it to look like in the future? So what am I going to do about it? And that was the main intent of all of these life areas, so people could work through in this book that I've written, is work through at the end of each chapter, once you understand the psychology behind a life area, the psychological and physiological benefits that you can get out of enhancing that life area, assess how you feel, and then decide if that's a priority life area for you. I just think planning, it's taking that time out to think about things.
Yeah, and taking that time out could literally just be saying, when I'm getting home today from work, I'm going to spend 1 hour and just sit down and take out a pen and paper and just list these areas. Or could be just saying that I'm going to block out a whole weekend to just do nothing, talk to no one, but just focus on these things. But you're right, taking time out, because it's like, again, when we're constantly working and doing things in life and crazy and family and work and all these different things that are happening, we forget to do that, to just stop and just take that time out and reflect.
And it's understanding what boundaries you need to have. And I'm sure we've all done this in terms of the encroachment of work on our lives, as an example. And I found myself the other day rushing out of the house to get the bus, get the public transport into work. And I knew exactly what time I needed to be at the bus stop to get the bus to get into the time I wanted to arrive at work. And as I was going to the door, my 2-year-old walked up with a book in his hands and just held it out, just a little picture book, and just held it out. And at that moment, there's your choice. There's the boundary. Do you let work encroach on that, or is that a moment? And it's recognizing those moments. And for me, irrespective of the pressure that I felt to go to work whatever expectations I'd set of myself with that, whatever expectations I may have had, it meant I was going to sit down on the floor and go through that book. And after 5 minutes, he was bored anyway. So I still was able to get to the bus stop. But it was such a moment, because I could have just yelled out to Kate and said, Kate, grab Sterling, I've got to go, and miss that moment. And I think there's all of those moments every day for us, and it's about the boundary that you want to set. And I think if you're really clear on that, what sort of areas of your life that are important, then it's easier to set those boundaries. So I think that's a good lesson for all of us.
Thanks for joining us on Sharing More Than the Sheets. Please make sure you subscribe to be updated with future episode releases, and feel free to share this episode with any friends or family that you think it might benefit. Please visit us at sharingmorethanthesheets.com.au to submit questions or requests for future podcast topics. These podcasts have been brought to you by Better Financial Planning Australia. To book a 15-minute phone chat, visit betterfinancialplanning.com.au.